Hola, hola, and welcome to the next episode of the Amiga Mia Talk Show. This is your host, Michelle, and this is part of a 6-part series called Staying Connected with Latin America. We already had the first episode with Marina da Silva, Brazilian Australian, talking about her connection with Brazil through her parents, through her music, and being, growing up in Bondi, which is arguably the epicenter of the Brazilian diaspora in Sydney and Australia. So if you haven't heard that one, check it out. This is episode 2 of Staying Connected with Latin America, and this episode is brought to you by Western Union, fast and reliable international money transfers. This episode, we actually traveled all the way to Melbourne. Traveled to Melbourne for the weekend because there was a couple of things that I needed to do, and one of those was interview Karoll Pinzon, una colombiana, who has a very interesting story. She actually migrated to Australia in the 1999, I believe, and she came as an exchange student. And she was one of the first in her friend group, in her circles, to ever do that. And there's a very, very interesting reason why. And anyways, she got a beautiful story. She ended up falling in love, building a family here, and then she wanted to stay connected with Latin America with her kids and through her family and through the language. And she has now founded an incredible business and has all these incredible resources available. So if you saw my Instagram reel, or in general, like for the last few years, I always get the same question: where can kids learn Spanish? Whether it be in the schooling system or private, this is your girl. Anyways, enjoy the episode.
What is the biggest culture shock you had when you first arrived to Australia?
Oh my God. Like 26 years ago, to refresh my memory. Probably eating the spicy food. What is it called? The spicy green. It looks like guacamole.
I don't remember what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
I'm just eating it and thinking that it was guacamole, and it was, it was burning like my whole face. Like I couldn't even. And that was when I first came here, and I ate sushi, and I just went, oh God.
Quickly going to interject here. So she was talking about wasabi. And I remember when she was talking about it, and we both, like, even after recording, we were like, what was the name? She's referring to wasabi. So I thought I'd quickly jump in there. But anyways, continue with the episode.
And thank you so much, Karoll, for being part of the Amiga Mia Talk Show. I really appreciate hunting you down here all the way in Melbourne. We've been in conversation via email and Instagram for a year, 2 years?
For a year, probably, yeah.
3 years?
I think.
How many years would you say?
I think 1 year. I mean, I've been following you for a long time. So
yeah.
Yeah, since probably after COVID. That's when I started following you.
Yeah.
Your memes and yeah.
I think that's when I discovered you as well, because I saw what you were doing with La Familia Hub.
Yeah.
And I thought, which we'll get into. But let's go right back to the very beginning. So, Karoll Pinzon. Do you also, so Karoll Pinzon Patel?
Yeah.
Patel.
My husband is from India, but he was born in England.
Oh, beautiful.
So that's why I'm Patel.
That's a beautiful cultural mix you must have in your family.
Yeah.
Did you meet here in Melbourne?
We met here in Melbourne. And funny story, when I met him in 2011, I met him in November, and I was about to go back to Colombia for good. I was going back in January, and then I met him in November, and I decided not to go. So
you changed your mind.
He changed my mind.
He changed your whole life.
I'm glad that he changed my mind.
Start from the very beginning. You grew up in what city in Colombia?
In Bucaramanga.
Bucaramanga,
yeah.
I think actually maybe there was a was it you? There was a festival there recently, or maybe earlier on in the year.
In
Bucaramanga?
No.
Or maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
Yeah, maybe. A festival?
Yeah. And where's Bucaramanga in Colombia, like in the zone?
So Bucaramanga is kind of close to the border between Venezuela and Colombia. It's about 6 hours drive. And it's a small city. It's number 5 in Colombia. And it's very well known because of the parks. It's a very green city.
What do you mean by number 5 in terms of like GDP or size or population?
Main cities.
Okay.
So there is the capital, which is Bogota, then Medellin, Cali. Which one is 4th? I forgot, but I know we're number 5, Bucaramanga.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
And growing up there, what was something like that was distinctively from Bucaramanga? Like, was it the landscape, the region, the food? Was there anything that made it distinct?
The food is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There's in Colombia we have different types of arepas. In Bucaramanga there is la arepa santanderiana, which is very different to your usual arepa that you see. I don't know if you've had it before. Arepas.
I've had arepas, but not what the other word that you said. What was it?
So it's arepa santanderiana. Santanderiana because the state is Santander and the city is Bucaramanga. So it's made of corn, yellow corn, and it's called also chicharrón. It's very tasty. It's very different to your plain arepas. And everyone in Colombia knows arepa santanderiana is the best.
You heard it here first, people.
And don't say otherwise. There is also something that everyone knows about Bucaramanga is that we eat ants.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen them as well.
What?
Ants, yeah.
You actually eat them?
Yes.
Oh my God.
There is a kind of ant. It's called hormiga culona.
God, this is getting crazy already.
And they have big bumps. I mean, the name, culona. My mom used to eat them growing up when she was little. She tells me that because they used to live, it was like around the bush, and they used to find them like walking, and they used to grab them and then take the bun and then fry them and eat them. So they're like kind of crunchy. I've never ever had them because I just can't. But when I took my kids to Colombia in 2024, 2024. No, 22. Sorry, 22. My son tried and he loved them. He loved them. It's like eating chips.
Yeah.
And they're like kind of crunchy. Like you take the head and you get rid of the head and then just keep the bun and you fry it in oil and you eat it. And it's crunchy.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess for those listening, what does the word culona mean?
Big bum.
Big bum. Yeah. So you're eating big bum ants.
Yes.
As a tasty snack.
So when you go to Colombia, you go to Bucaramanga and you try hormigas culonas.
And have you kept that here? Like, do you make that at home or do you try and source them? Or
no, because you can't find them here. And you're not allowed to bring them here because Australia is very tough on regulations to bring food.
You'd be held in customs for a week.
Yeah, I'll be getting fines. Like, I won't be able to come back to it. They won't let me in. Everyone knows Bucaramanga because of hormigas culonas. So.
I love that. Okay. Yeah. And so growing up there, how did you always have, I guess, a vision to potentially move or travel to Australia from a young age? Or not necessarily Australia, but to travel and get outside of Colombia?
So I remember I was actually just talking to my mom before I came here. And I remember how I made the decision. I was trying to remember how I made the decision to come to Australia. And it all started because there is something in Colombia that we celebrate at the school, and it's like language, Language Day. El Día del Idioma, it's called. And I remember the school brought someone, it was an Australian student that was in Colombia as an exchange student. And they brought him for him to tell his story and talk about Australia and his experience.
How old were you roughly at that point? Or what grade were you in?
I was in year 11. So it was my last year of high school. Because in high school in Colombia, we finished in year 11. I know here in Australia it's until year 12. So he came to school and he talked to the whole school about his experience in Colombia. He talked a little bit about Australia. And at that point, I don't think any of us knew anything about Australia because this is back in probably 98, 97.
Yeah.
And I had no idea.
Did he speak in Spanish?
He was speaking in Spanish.
Oh, how exciting.
He knew the language already.
That's so beautiful.
And that's the first time I heard someone talking about having an experience like being an exchange student.
Yeah.
I was very curious. I remember always liking learning English at school. It was one of my favorite subjects. But it was kind of the fun subject, like that subject that you only see like once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I always enjoy it. So I always wanted to go somewhere to learn English properly. So then after he came, I started talking to my mom about going overseas after I finished high school because I wanted to learn English. And I talked to her about Australia. And then I remember we went to have a meeting with an agency that did the exchange programs. I think it was the only agency at that time that did that in Colombia. It's called EF, and I'm pretty sure they're still
around.
Still do it.
Okay.
So we went to them, and they kind of gave us the options of which countries you can go to. And because I heard this story from this student from Australia, and he was blonde and blue eyes.
It looked like did he look like ¿cómo se llama el chico? Chris Hemsworth.
Yes.
Yes. So Karoll was like, I
was in love. Yeah, we started talking to the lady, and she started talking to us about Australia. And then she told us about the process, how everything works, how the families choose the students, and the students have to also write about themselves and make like an album of your family, and you have to talk a little bit about yourself. And then the agency shows them these albums to all the families, and then the families get to choose a student depending on what they like. And I think my mom and my dad, they never say no to me.
I love that. So were you very sort of determined at that point to?
Yeah, I was, and everything was kind of flowing, like everything just happened very quickly. Mm-hmm. And we started going to the meetings with the agency.
Sorry to ask a question, did you at any point have any other people in your circle or friends or anyone who had already done something similar?
No one.
So you were you had the idea. It wasn't like influenced by anyone who you saw did the same thing.
No.
Wow.
I mean, I think my first reference was this guy that came to school and talk about his experience.
Yeah.
But before then, I don't remember having the idea of going somewhere as an exchange student. I probably heard of it, of people going to the US, because most Colombians go to the US. Mm-hmm. But yeah, not Australia.
Australia.
Not like no one knew anything about Australia in those times.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything just kind of started falling into place. Everything happened very quickly. Family chose me, and then I remember talking to them on the phone and not being able to understand anything.
What do you mean? Sorry. So like an Australian family.
Yeah.
Had
they called me. I think they called me to talk to me, and I remember being really hard for me to understand what they were saying. This is back in, when there was you were just talking on the phone.
And they probably had a more intense Aussie accent back then.
Yes, yeah. And my English, I thought I had good English by then, but I didn't. My English was very basic. Mm-hmm. And then, very different to what the English is here in Australia, because you learn American English in Colombia.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
So in growing up in school, I teach you the US version.
Yeah.
And even within the US, there's so many nuances per state. Like you've got the Southern. Did you learn the Southern?
No. No, I remember my school teacher that taught us English. She was Colombian, like she was in.
Okay.
Yeah. But she knew English. So there was like, she had an accent. She had the Colombian accent. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because there's definitely words that would not translate here that the US uses that we don't use.
Yeah. It's very different. The accent is different. The words are very different. The way they speak,
mannerisms,
everything.
Yeah,
the slangs, the way they show the words in here in Australia. I remember when I arrived here, we had 1 week in Sydney. So they brought this agency. They recruit like students from everywhere around the world to bring to Australia, and then we had a group of many students from Colombia, so from different cities. And so we all came together to Sydney and spent 1 week to meet all the other students from everywhere around the world. It was like an introduction camp. And it was the agency did that because they wanted to introduce us to the Australian culture. So they had also, I remember, they had some Aboriginals as well coming to talk to us and show us the culture.
That is so beautiful. I love that they integrate that as part of the program so early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. It was really nice. And we also had activities when each of us, like from different countries, we get to do a dance and a representation of the country or a song or whatever we wanted.
Wait, so you had to do a dance or song about Colombia?
Well, it could be, it could have been anything.
Right.
Like there were groups of people from different countries, and each of them had to come up with something to present to the rest of the students, so they get to know a little bit about your country. So that was really nice. But then after that week, each person left to whichever city they had to go, where the families were, and that was like the shock, like, because when you got there and you get to know the family, and that's when real life starts, and then you have to start speaking in English all the time. And I remember crying like for 3 months every single day, because I couldn't, like, I started school, couldn't make friends because they were talking to me and I couldn't understand, so I didn't know what to say. So it took me, I think, a good 3 months for my brain to start speaking in English without translating.
I have a question. In the host family, did they have any kids that were of similar age to you?
No, it was just me, because their kids, it was kind of an older couple. So their kids were very grown up and they had their own families. And so it was just me, and it was a family that lived in Marta, which is in Mornington. Yeah, I remember it was like probably the hardest thing that I've done in my life. Those first 3 months were awful, like awful. I'm like, what am I doing here? Why did I come all the way? It was hard. It was really tough.
How long were you supposed to stay with that? Like, do you stay with multiple host families or just one for the whole time?
No, just with one, unless you have issues with them. And I remember at some point, one of the other students that lived like kind of close to the same area where I was, she started having issues with her family, and then they decided to bring her to the family that I was staying with, and she was from Colombia as well. But the condition was that we had to speak in English all the time.
We found a Colombiana. Finally, you can connect with someone, and they say no Spanish.
No Spanish. But obviously, we weren't gonna.
Of course.
And obviously, in front of them, we'll be talking in English, but after that, we'll be speaking Spanish all the time.
Are you still friends with that person till now? Is she still in Australia?
No, she's not. Okay. She's not. There's only one person that from all that group that came here. There's only one, and I'm still in touch. Like, I actually saw him a few years ago. He lives in Canberra now.
The 3 months struggling through high school, it was high school, right?
Yeah. High school, year 11.
Year 11.
Yeah.
And that's it's such an interesting year. I can only reflect on my experience, because that's the age where you've already, as someone growing up in that system, you've already established your friendships.
Yeah.
You've been there since the beginning of the last 6 years or whatever. And so to bring someone new into that environment, it's sort of like people probably took their time to warm up to you. Do you still speak to anyone from that time?
Yeah. So the very good friend that I made back then, and my first friend, actually, she was from Iceland. She's from Iceland. And she was doing an exchange program as well.
Okay.
So we became very good friends. She was probably my best friend for that whole year. I still talk to her. She lives I think she's in Iceland. She's been moving around, but I think she's back in Iceland at the moment. Friends that I've made from Australia, I don't keep in touch with them. But yeah, it was tough. It was because of what you say. Like, year 11 is almost the end of high school, and there is friendships that are already established. And for me to come in and not speak the language, it was really hard. Like, it was very hard to break the ice as well. And after 3 months, it was kind of funny, because I started also dreaming in English. And there was a day that my brain just switched, and everyone. I started understanding more. I started speaking more without taking so long words to come out, because at the beginning you take long because your brain is translating what you want to say and then you say it. But yeah, I remember very clear that I started dreaming in English and I started speaking more like easily, and words started to come out, and I started having more conversations even with my host parents, and life started to get a little bit easier. And then this girl from Colombia came. I can't remember how many months, like at what point she came and lived with us. She moved with us for the rest of the year of the exchange program. It kind of made everything a little bit easier, but she was going to a different school. So the school, that was another thing. The school that I went to, it was a private school, very wealthy families in there. And, all the kids back then, that was in 99, the kids were already bringing their own laptops. And I remember thinking, like, in Colombia, we haven't even, like, we were, I think, using desktops and stuff like that. But then, so yeah, it was hard. It was hard because it was also a private school. It was different lifestyle. And she was going to a public school. So it was kind of very, very different.
Very different. Do your host parents choose the school that you go to?
Yeah, they choose the school. And I think the school, because I didn't have to pay for anything. I don't know how that works.
It's such a great or interesting for me. And I say this because when I was back in high school, we also hosted a student we hosted 3, one from Japan, one from Germany, and one from France. And they stayed with us different, some for a couple of months, like long time, and some for just very short, like 2-3 weeks. And I never think about it from their experience, what it means to come. I remember the French girl, she was the one that really stays in my memory because she used to be so shocked. She said, Michelle, in France, at our age, I think we were maybe 14, 15, she's like, we're already partying. We're already doing some crazy things. It's very normalized in Europe. We have a very big social life. Whereas in Australia, it was I wouldn't say conservative.
Yeah.
But there was definitely a big difference. And I remember thinking about her and I was like, you're so weird. Like you don't fit in. Like we were great friends and we still talk to today.
Yeah.
But now realizing, like, reflecting back, and not only do you have to deal with a new language, but you have to deal with the whole new culture and all the culture shocks that come with it at that age.
Yeah, at that age, like I was 17. And now that you mentioned that, for me it was like I thought here. I remember another student. She was from Colombia and she was with a family that had their kids living with them. And they were around. The oldest one was, I think, 17, and then there was a 15, I think. And I remember having a conversation with her at some point because their parents used to let their boyfriend come and stay in the house. And we're like, oh my God, I can't believe like that would never, ever happen in Colombia. Never. And we were shocked. Like, how can the parents let the boyfriend come and stay in the house? And so we thought they were very liberated, very different, like in Colombia and in most Latin American countries. It's very different. I mean, your parents will never let your boyfriend come and stay in the house.
Yeah.
Unless you're married.
Yeah.
So it was the opposite. We thought, oh my God, everything here is so different. Like families, the dynamic within the families is very different. Also because we're very religious.
Yeah.
There is a lot of things that are very, we thought, oh my God. Like we used to have a lot of conversations about culture and all the things that kids were allowed to do in here that we never saw that in Colombia.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Even with me, like I was never allowed to have anyone stay at my house during high school. Like it was banned. Even if I wanted to stay with my best friend at the time, it was a female, I had to be like, my parents knew her parents for years, and it was always, they would have a conversation with her parents.
Yeah.
It would have to be an approved arrangement, and it was only with her. And it could never be with anyone who had brothers. If they had brothers, forget it. I often relate with people like that because even within my family dynamic, my parents applied like the Chilean logic.
Mm-hmm.
Or one which is so funny is when I was 18, I was an 18-year-old here, and I saw all the Aussie girls, my friends, out partying, clubbing, and everything.
Yeah.
And my parents said to me, "You have to go with your older brothers."
Yeah.
Who are 15 years older than me. It's not like they're 1 or 2 years, they're 15 years. And I said, I'm not going out with them. All the girls were like, hey, let's jump in the car, let's go pre-drink and everything. And then I was like, my parents said I have to go with my brothers.
And same happened to me in Colombia. Like I remember going out when I think I started going out when I was 16, and I had to go out with my brother too.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
But he was only 4 years apart. We were only 4 years apart. So.
Is he still in Colombia?
He lived here for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and then he moved back to Colombia. And now, about 4 or 5 years ago, I think he came back, but he was living in Brisbane, and now he's gone to the US
to move permanently
because of work. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been like.
Is it your only sibling?
So I got 2 older brothers.
Okay.
And the oldest one, he lives in Venezuela, and then the middle. I'm the youngest.
So your family is like global, like split in 3 ways.
Yeah, we split in different countries. Like it used to be just here in Australia, me and my brother, and then my oldest is in Venezuela. He's always been there. And now the other one is in the US. I'm here, and the other one is in Venezuela. My mom is in Colombia. She was here for 3 years, and she left this year in April. But the plan is for her to come back.
I remember that. I saw that on your social media.
Yeah.
You were posting videos with your mom. And I think I love it. I love it that it was her first time in Australia?
No, she's been here many times before because I've been here for so long. So she was here many times, but she came for holidays. But this time was for good. So she stayed for a long time with the plan of her to stay here in Australia. And she's now able to be here, but she had to go back just because she had to have surgery. So
so that she's still coming back to live permanently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congrats.
Hopefully, unless she really, I don't know, she might make another decision. But yeah, the plan is for her to come here.
Yeah.
Because she's got the visa to stay. So yeah, next year she'll be back, and she loved it. Like the last 2 years that she spent here, she loved it. Like she made friends, which was my biggest worry, that she will, because she's very social, she will be able to do her own thing and not lose that independence. And she did. She was doing English classes. Yeah, she had her own thing. She learned how to use the public transport, and she will go anywhere. Sometimes I'll be the one like calling her at 7 p.m. Like, where are you? What time are you coming back? Because she was still out with her friends, and it was like the roles kind of changed.
Is the community like that she was a part of? Is it sort of like a seniors Spanish speaking group? Is that or is it just a mix of different nationality? Like, what does that look like?
So she made friends from different places. She, at the beginning, when she arrived here, part of my plan was to spend some time showing her for her to learn how to, for example, use the public transport. Also, I remember contacting someone. There was a lady that lived here for a long time, and I saw a message she put on Facebook saying that she was doing tours for parents that were visiting their kids. She's from Colombia.
What a fantastic idea.
And I saw that, and I thought, my mom is coming. I'm going to get in touch with her. Yeah, that's what we did. So we got in touch, and my mom went on one of those tours, and then she made 2 very good friends in there. Yeah, I remember her friend, she lived on the other side of Melbourne, so very far. But I remember her taking the train. Like I'm pretty sure she had to take the regional train as well to get to her place sometimes. And she did all that by herself many times.
No.
It was good because she came. I remember saying to her, you have to come here with a different mentality because you're coming here to live. And it's going to be a process, and it's not going to be easy. Like it's always going to be hard at the beginning. That's why I took some time off and showing her stuff so she will learn by herself how to do stuff. And I think that helped a lot because sometimes, we have to put ourselves in their shoes. And if they're making the decision to come and live here and spend time with you, you need to help them because they got no English. it's a very hard transition. But I think her making friends and having that social interaction with people of her age as well, I think that changed everything, because that's her independence, right? That's her, like, on Sundays or any other day during the week, if they wanted to have a coffee, if they wanted to go somewhere, they'll make their own plans and they'll meet somewhere. Some of them live here for a while. I remember I met this lady a long time ago when I came here to Australia. I think it was back in 2004. There was a Colombian association, and she was running that with her daughter. My mom met her here when she came, and she talked to me about her. She told me the name. I'm wondering if it's the same person that I met. And it was funny because it was the same person that I met back then that ran that association and have been here for a long time, and they're very good friends now. She's from Colombia, and she's introduced my mom to other ladies as well, and that's how she's kind of my friends, because she meets someone and that someone introduces her to someone else, and then they tell her about places that she can go. There is this club, community based as well, that is, it's been set up many years ago by also families that came, I think, back in the 60s, in those times, and they're from Chile. And the club has I think over 30 years run. So
I would love. Do you know the name of that club?
I have to ask.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I met one like that in Adelaide when I traveled to Adelaide. It's called the Hispanic Association of South Australia.
Yeah.
And it was a club founded by a Chilean as well. And she had run it for 40 years and it was still standing.
Yeah.
And they would kind of encourage people to introduce their parents who had moved to Australia from Latin America. And she's just constantly staying alive, but the people were kind of like cycling through the group. And I remember she was saying sometimes they just need a bit of community support for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
And then they're okay. And some people just love to maintain that connection.
Yeah.
So I love that idea.
Yeah. It's good. I think that's changed everything for her, because, as I say, that was my main worry, that she will not be able to make friends. Then she would have gone back to Colombia, because I don't think she would have been happy here. But having friends here and being able to, go out and do her own thing, and sometimes they will go to events from the community, not even events that I will go, she'll go.
I love that. She's living her best life.
Oh, she was having, oh my God, she was, and then before she left, it was her birthday, and I organized this little party in our place, in our house, and her friends came, and we had so much fun. It was so nice to meet them all and getting to know them a little bit better.
No, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So she's got very good friendships.
Yeah. Speaking of friendships, I'd love to, speaking about your mum and that whole process of bringing her to Australia, I was hoping to also speak about the way that I found out about you is through the incredible work that you do, which you founded a group. I'd be interested to know how you frame it or how you label it. Community, brand, a collective, along those lines, called La Familia Hub.
Yeah.
Which, with all the work that I've been doing with Amiga Mia in the last 10 years, I remember when I saw it and I said, wow, like I really love this, because I think that so many people, my parents included, would benefit from something like this. For many different reasons, to stay connected to the Latin American culture, the language, the community, and also to feel a sense of belonging, which I think is so important.
Yeah.
So I would love to know the idea, like, how did that start, La Familia Hub? Where did that come from? What was the inspiration? What was the... So
the Familia Hub started back in, well, the idea started in 2020, just before COVID or during COVID. But it was because when I had my first child back in 2015, I wanted to connect with more families, Latin American families, and I decided to create a WhatsApp group. And the WhatsApp group started growing and growing and growing. And it was, for me, it was my support
Mhm.
during this stage of my life of having kids, being here without my family. And it was very important, I think, finding that group of women that were going through the same that I was going, and speaking Spanish as well, because I think when you go through things like having kids or any other big milestones in your life, being able to speak your language, it makes things a lot easier. So the group was a lifesaver for me, and I'm sure for all the families that have been there since then. And the group's still there. It's now, we're 2026. It's now what, 11 years old? Yeah, 11. So it's the same age as my son.
I love that. Did it start as the name of La Familia Hub, or did that come later?
No, it's called Familias Hispanas.
Familias Hispanas.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah. And we started sharing information about, every time someone will have a question about anything, maternity, kids, I don't know, anything, recommendations about doctors, about different services that you will need, a type of support that made everyone's lives easier. And I thought, having this information, it will be good to have this information available for many other families, not just for the ones that are here in this group. And that's why I started thinking about creating a website. And because I'm a graphic designer and a web designer, then that's how the idea came of creating a website with all this information in Spanish to make families' lives easier.
And at that time, during those 10 years, were you still working on, were you doing something else on the side? You had your profession as a graphic designer.
Yeah.
And you were doing this sort of as on the side to help the community and to provide resources in a space?
So I did freelancing after I had my kids. It was easier for me to do freelance because it gave me the flexibility to do my work in my own time. I launched the website in 24, but it was probably a year and a half before then that one of the contracts that I had finished, and I thought this is the perfect time for this to take action and do it, because it was in my mind, it was in the back of my mind, but for many, many years. And then my husband is like, this is your chance, just start doing it. And that's when I started the planning about, planning how was it going to look, all the information that was going to be there, and all the work that needs to happen before creating a website. And then in 24, I decided to launch it. And also it was, for me, the main goal was to help families that needed that support in the language and with information that was easy to understand.
Now, so it started as a WhatsApp group, and you still have that, but it seems to have evolved, over the years. How has that evolved, and what inspired the evolution?
I started the Familia Hub with the main goal of helping families make decisions, informed decisions. That was my main goal, because I also started hearing a lot of stories of families going through hardship. And
if we can we zoom in on that?
Yeah.
So what are some of the stories of hardship that you heard over the years?
I think a lot of them had to do with migrating here and domestic violence, unfortunately. People just being scared of getting out of a relationship because of visa issues, for example. And then they will fall pregnant and they don't know anything about the system, how everything works in here. And because they're international students, for example, insurance will not cover the pregnancy. And it's all these different issues that just start piling up. Once you fall pregnant, it's a it changes your life, and especially being in a different country, not having support from anyone or not many people, and the person that is supposed to give you support is giving you issues. So a lot of that. There is a lot of, I think, domestic violence, unfortunately.
I just want to add to that. So I went to an event last year, I believe, toward the end of last year. It's part of a union And there's actually a Colombian who runs it, and she's really advocating it for it. And she invited me to go and be part of the event. And she was joined with, there was a panel of different people in the community. But most importantly, one of the panel members was a lawyer, and he was dealing with, I think he dealt with law, like a wide variety of law in his practice. But one of those was to do with people who are like students on a visa, and they were subjected to domestic violence. One of the questions was, what is the number one reason that people reach out to you out of all the spectrum of things that you work on? And he said, by a mile, it is women with visas are subjected to domestic violence. And he said that what's really sad is a lot of the partners hold them hostage, like not physically hostage, but they'll say, if you don't follow my wishes, I'm going to cancel the partner visa. And so these women are scared. And that's one thing, which is like the verbal manipulation and verbal abuse. But then some of them do that. And in addition to that, they do the physical abuse.
Yeah.
And he said that it's really heartbreaking because they don't know that a lot of, like he was saying, we have a service that exists. It's for free. You can reach out to us. I might actually, for those listening or watching, I might actually include that contact and email address of the law firm in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
But that was really eye-opening for me. So that's so important to raise awareness about that as well.
Yeah, and especially in Spanish. They have people that translate, but sometimes it's just difficult, I think. And the community is big, the Latin American community is big, but I think sometimes we're very far from each other, or we don't know who we have next to us. So it's very challenging, I think, especially for international students that come and, they're in that situation where they experience domestic violence and they don't know what resources they have available, how can they get help, and then they fall pregnant and they don't know how the system works. And I've also heard from, when I was doing the directory, last year I launched also a printed directory for the families, and there is someone there's a specialist, a gynecologist, and she's from Brazil, and I talked to her, I had a meeting with her, and she was telling me the same. She gets a lot of women that go through domestic violence, and she feels the need to help them because there is not a lot of help available for them. That, and then they're not issues, but it's more about understanding how the system works here. For example, the education system is very different to Latin America. The schools are very different. The way they teach are very different. And
can you highlight one of those differences as an example?
I think, like now with me, because my kids are in primary school, I've now know what those issues are, because education in South America is very different to here. And mainly it's because I think here, for most of the moms, they feel like the education here is very, I don't know if this is the right word to use, but very relaxed. In Colombia, for example, when you start primary school in year 1 and 2, you already know how to read and write. And in here, it's like it takes time, and it's more, the education here is based more in that Montessori approach. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's more like play based. Also, I think in Australia, it's very important to learn life skills. And I think you can see that in kindergarten, where they teach kids how to, for example, when it's time to have morning tea or afternoon tea, they all come to a table, and then each of them, like, they have a setup where each of them can pick up the plates and they can take them to a bucket and they can put some water and wash them. Like, I think that's very important here, to get the kids to start being independent and use those life skills. The education here is more play-based than in Colombia. It's more, Colombia and South America is more serious, it's more strict, I would say, than here. And so a lot of the parents complain because they feel like their kids are falling behind.
Falling behind, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because they get to an age where you think, okay, they're supposed to be doing this. Because when I was in grade 2 in Colombia, or wherever you're from, I already knew how to do this. Why is it that my kid is not doing this? Also, the homework as well is very optional. In Colombia, for example, they used to have homework all the time. Here is optional. So if the kids want to do it, they do it. Or if the parents want their kids to do it, then they get to do them. But it's very different, I think. And that's what most of the parents find it hard to understand, because it's very different. The approach here for education is very different to Latin America.
And with your Familia Hub, when it comes to those differences, do you just like create a space to talk about them, or do you have...
We talk about that in sometimes, for example, in the WhatsApp group. We've talked, I remember there was a year when, I think it was when my son started primary school, I started looking for schools. And one of the moms was very organized, I remember, and she's like, oh, I've been looking, not primary schools. We were looking at high schools. And she's like, oh, I've been doing tours. I've been taking notes, and I got a list, like I got a spreadsheet, and with all these different schools that I visited, we can do a meeting online, and whoever wants to come, they come, and they can learn about some of the stuff that I've been all the information that I've been finding. And so we did that, and it was easier for the families that attended, because some of them had no idea or were too scared to attend tours as well.
Interesting.
Because they felt like they didn't have the English to go and ask the questions, and they didn't feel confident. And it was good for her, like it was really nice for her to do that, just because, she felt like she had all this information that she could share with the other moms that were having the same questions. At the moment, I'm working, you asked me where is this going with the Familia Hub? I'm working at the moment with all the information and everything that I've been doing these past 2 years with families, in terms of helping them and seeing which information is the one that they need the most. And I also did a questionnaire last year. I think, it was last year I did a questionnaire to find out also what are most of the biggest challenges that families have when they move here. What type of information will make their lives easier. It was it was long. It was a long questionnaire. And
what do you mean by long? Like how many questions?
There's a lot of questions. But they were all multiple choice. So
so it wasn't like text, write like a 6-page paragraph on your experience.
No. It was multiple choice. It was,
what an asset that will have, because you've developed that now into a resource, haven't you?
Yeah. I haven't. That's where I'm going with this, where I got that, and I got also what I've done in the past 2 years to sit down and revise everything and come up with something where I also get rewarded somehow for the work that I'm doing. Because at the moment I started this just with the goal of helping families.
Right.
The website is in there. It's got a lot of information. I'm not charging for anything. It's all in Spanish, and I also have free resources, mainly the resources for the families in Melbourne, because I live in Melbourne. But for example, I have an ebook where I have a list of recommendations of areas that are best for families, depending on the schools that are in the area, public transport, the prices of renting or buying houses. What else? And also the type of family that you are. If you're a family that like the outdoors, or if you're a family that like living close to the city, depending on what family you are. So it's also a really good ebook for families that are looking, for example, the kids are in primary school or high school, and they're looking for places where to live.
And how long did it take you to create that resource, from the very beginning of having the idea to publishing?
Oh, I remember that took me about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's, if you see it
like intensive 3 weeks, every day you were kind of like building a certain aspect of it, researching.
Getting information, and also life experience, like everything. I think everything I built is being built based on the WhatsApp group, the information that we share, my experience, and also from, things that I read online,
of course,
and families that I know.
And if people listening or watching, they want to access that resource, is it still available on your website?
Yeah, it's in the website. They can download it. They just need to put the email in there and they can download it. It's a free ebook and it gives you by area also in Melbourne. So north, west, south, east. So it's a very good resource to have, especially if you're looking for schools.
Yeah.
It's got like a list of schools that are in that area that are good. So you can go and see them. You can go and get a feel of it, like what vibe, how do you feel when you go and see the area. But yeah, it's a good resource to have for families in Melbourne.
Amazing that you've put that together. I think that's going to be so valuable. And I have no doubt that people from other states as well have asked or are interested in that version. Would you consider ever creating something similar for a different state, or are you keeping it localized because of your experience?
I mean, I've had families ask me that, but I don't know. I will have to find probably a family that live in the city, and so they can guide me a little bit because I have no idea what it will be like.
Yeah, but you are creating a more like national level resource.
Yes,
because this is a kind of, I guess, where you and I started talking a little bit more. And you know, something that I get asked quite a lot through Amiga Mia is I often speak about growing up here, the way that I stayed connected to Latin America or to my Chilean heritage was through language.
Yeah.
There's so many other ways. It could be going to church or staying connected with family, or all of that I feel like was within my family's reach. Like they were able to understand how that would look like, teaching me cooking recipes, going to church, learning the culture in a number of different ways. But the one they always found quite complicated is how do I learn Spanish but grammatically?
Yeah.
Because one thing is to learn Spanish at home.
Yeah.
And have that level of Spanish, but another one is having more of like a grammatical structure to it. And so sometimes I share videos about my Saturday school or my trauma growing up like that. And people ask me, hey, like what? So where can I send my children? And I say, oh, look, it's a good question. I know my school that I went to in Sydney, I can share that information and my experience. But beyond that, it's a whole world.
Yeah.
And it's a whole world that you've just entered.
Yeah.
So how did that start? Like, how did you get into it? And even before then, actually, like, do you ever get people reaching out to you where they want their children to learn Spanish as well?
I think before you asked me about this resource, I never knew there were so many schools in Melbourne that taught Spanish. So that was one discovery. There is a lot. I don't know how good. I mean, we talk about the Newlands School, primary school, who is the probably the only bilingual school that teaches Spanish in Australia. But beyond that, I had no idea about all the other schools, and not only in the private sector, but in the public sector. So many schools that teach Spanish. Not only here, but also in Sydney. There's a few, not as many as Melbourne. I think Melbourne has got the biggest number of schools that teach Spanish.
It makes sense.
Yeah. It's a lot. So that was one discovery. And
are we able just to quickly talk about Newlands for a second? Because I think that it's such a novelty. I remember when I discovered it, I had a moment, I was like, oh my God, there's a bilingual school here and it's embedded in the curriculum. It's not that it's just like an extension subject or something. It's embedded in the curriculum. But what do you know so far about that school?
I know they teach, I think it's 2 subjects in Spanish.
In Spanish?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, in Spanish. There's a big community of people that live in that area. Yeah, I don't know much about the school, but I know it's the only bilingual school in Australia. Also, there's a few childcares that are bilingual here in Melbourne, and I believe there is one in Sydney.
Sounds right.
The choices are not the same for people that live, for example, in Perth or Queensland. There's probably childcares in Queensland that teach Spanish informally, but they don't advertise it. But yeah, it's not. I think the biggest number of schools are here and Sydney.
And with this resource, what was the process like? Like, have you reached out to the schools and spoken to them, or have you done research from a digital perspective? Like, how did you approach that?
So I started my research online, and then I pile a list of the schools in each state, and then I started picking up the phone and talking to telling them about the document that I was creating. And a lot of them loved the idea. They loved the idea. They also say whatever, they offer whatever help you need. We would like also to have access to a resource once you create it. So please let us know when it's available. Childcare's here as well. They've reached out to me and they say we love the idea. I also had one school here in the private sector that told me about wanting to introduce, because they teach Spanish. It was a high school, I'm pretty sure. They want the students to experience the culture, and they wanted information about activities that they could take them to, or even incursions, so people that can go to school and do something so the students can learn a little bit more about the culture. That is something also that I want to, probably that one of the ideas that came about is trying to connect those schools with activities that they can show their students and learn more about the culture, not just the language, but also about immerse them in the culture and the language, and for them to be able to speak Spanish in real life, not just in the classroom.
So you mentioned preschools, but is it also primary and high school that you're looking at? But also all like the whole spectrum of like education.
So the list includes childcares, kinders, primary schools, high schools in the public and private sector, and then there is the places that teach Spanish as well, and that's by state. So Victoria, now that I just remember Tasmania is not in there, but I don't know why it came to my mind.
We always forget about Tasmania.
I forgot about Tasmania, not Australia. I forgot about Tasmania, but yeah, all the other states are in there, and the territories as well. NT have a few places,
nice,
that teach Spanish as well.
It's so nice to see Northern Territory.
Yeah,
it grow. I think the biggest group there is Colombians. I'm pretty sure.
In NT.
NT.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah,
Colombians.
There's a beautiful association there called the Latin American Association. And now I've seen in the more recent years, they're starting to do like community groups and celebrations. I think they had the first Latin American festival there 2 years ago.
Oh,
ever. And
I had no idea.
I think there's been other things in many years before that, but this was the first big festival that encompassed so many different stalls and small business and performance. So is the resource ready?
It is ready. I'm just in the process of putting it online right now. So I will let everyone know when it's online, so you can have access to the resource, because it's a document that is, I think it's about 40 pages.
Nice.
So there are places, there are schools that teach Spanish, and there are more than I thought there were going to be. So it will be a good resource to have for families, not only for the Spanish community, but also for families in other communities that want their children to learn Spanish, because I think Spanish is taught in many countries and is one of the most spoken languages in the world. So a lot of the families also from the other communities, they want their kids to learn Spanish. So yeah,
absolutely.
And I was talking to one of the childcares, and when I called them, and they say they have a lot of families from the European community that want their children to speak Spanish. So yeah.
That is such a good point, actually. That is such a good point, because when you think about it, my friends, I have friends who currently live in Europe, and they have little kids that are going to their equivalent of primary school. And already they learn like 3 languages at that age. And they said, like, we're living in Italy, but they're already learning how to speak like German and Spanish. So it makes sense that the Europeans would, for them, it's probably it's normalized to speak so many languages. I recall in a lot of Australian schools, there's like the choice between Japanese, Mandarin, what was the other one? German. Most schools have
Italian,
those, and French.
Italian, and French.
French, but I never really heard of anyone learning Spanish.
No.
Until now, because we got a resource.
Yeah, until now. There you go. I remember most of the public schools will tell me, just please let them know that, they have to live in the sun, because you know how
Of course. Yeah.
everything works in here, that to be able to go to a public school, you have to live in the sun, because some of them are obviously probably full. They were happy to be part of the resource. And that's another question that I will tell them about the resource and then ask them if they wanted to be part of it. And a lot of them were so happy to be part of it. And some of them were like, because they already had probably enough number of students, they were too scared to be inside the resource because of that.
Yeah.
But they all love the idea, the childcares, and also there's another place I didn't mention was the places that are subsidized by the government. Here in Victoria, it's VSL, the Victorian School of Languages. The students can attend every Saturday for 3 hours and learn a language. So Spanish is in there. And I believe there is another one in Sydney.
Yeah, that's the one I was part of.
Yeah. That is on Saturdays.
Exactly.
I think you call it Saturday school.
Yeah.
Or it was called like that, but now it's called something else.
I used to call it, I don't want to be here. I'd rather be with my friends' school.
Was it 3 hours as well?
It was about that. Yeah. It was about that. But it was part, I recall there was options in the West, in the Northwest where I was. And then there was only a handful back in the days. I think now there might be more, but
yeah.
And do you, in the resource, do you also mention anything about the private tutors or individual Spanish tutors, or is this more of like the private and public sector? And
yeah, I think that will be a different resource, mainly because I will have to make sure that the tutors are people that are qualified, and that's another process I will have to go through with them. But yeah, it's only schools, and it's only childcares, and also the places where Spanish schools, places where you can go and learn Spanish, or you can learn Spanish online.
Amazing. That's so important as well. The opportunity to learn online is so accessible now.
Yeah. And there is quite a few Latinas that have their own school, and they provide that. So they have classes online, or they have classes in person as well for kids.
Yeah.
From like small kids to teenagers. So yeah.
And when can people expect that to be available?
So it should be available from next week.
Nice.
So the resource is all ready. It's all being curated by me. I've made sure that all the places in there, they teach Spanish, and I call them, and I spend a lot of time making sure that that's, it's information that is being curated by me. So
that means for those listening or watching, it will be ready by the time you listen to this.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll add the link to the show notes to La Familia Hub.
Yeah.
And so you can go check out that resource, which I think is going to be super exciting and amazing. Yeah, I guess to wrap this up, like if you have looking at your journey from when you first started, because it's kind of like getting to a full circle. We came through and you were doing the hosting experience as a student in the education system here in Australia. And then you kind of continued your journey on having children yourself, connecting with Latin America through language, amongst other areas, even with your mum. Yeah. And that whole journey, and now launching La Familia Hub and these resources that are going to help so many people, in and outside of the Latin diaspora. Reflecting on all of that, is there any, I guess, words that you want to share to the community listening who are going through this process themselves, but they might be at the earliest stage?
I think it's very important to make decisions based on information from people that you can trust, and experts that are qualified in that field, and they're giving you the right information. Because I think when it comes to kids and family, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and and whatever resource that can save you time and effort, but it's based on the trust you need to have in order to make it. I think it will be a very good resource to have, and that's what I want to do with the Familia Hub. It's something that is based in trust, but also from information that comes from people that you can trust, and it's qualified to give you that information, because I will take you in a path that is not going to have as many challenges, and it's just going to make your life easier.
Really well said.
Yeah.
Really well said. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you,
for
Michelle.
being part of this, for what you do for the community, and also reflecting on my experience for providing a space and a resource that will probably help so many people more than what you may realize. I strongly believe that what you're doing is impacting so much than what you can see or reach.
Thank you.
If that makes sense. So will this resource just be the only one, or will you do iterations or versions every year, for example?
Every year, my plan is to every year to check that these places are still teaching, because I know that some of the schools and some places change sometimes the language that they teach based in the committee or the families they have every year. So, but yeah, every year I'm planning to check.
So that's exciting. So I guess for anyone who's listening, episode might have been published a while ago. We still encourage you to go check out the resource, because there likely would be a version where it's just been refined at that year. And on that resource, will you have the date that it's been?
Yeah, so it will have the edition. Yeah. So July 2026 edition. So you can see it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And for people who want to follow you on social media or follow you on, we've got your website, or maybe if you want to give the URL for your website and your social medias.
Yeah. So the website is www.thefamiliahub.com. Everywhere in socials, we are the Familia Hub. So YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much. And the new way of supporting Hispanic families here in Australia. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And that is a wrap up. Thank you so much for listening to episode 2 of Staying Connected with Latin America. And I will leave all the information in the show notes if you're interested in actually accessing the resource, learning more about Karoll Pinzon, the founder, or following her journey, or just checking out her website. She's also got a lot of other amazing resources available. And don't forget that next episode, we're going to have another conversation with someone from another country here in Australia and learn about how they stay connected. There's also a YouTube video, so feel free to check the video out on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, this is also an audio version available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a couple of other places. And thanks again to our sponsors from Western Union. Whether you need to send money for your next trip or sending to a loved one living in Latin America, new customers that send from the app get a great rate and $0 transfer fee on their first online transfer. FX gains apply. Until next time, ciao.